Hey, fifth grade, what's happening, guys? So, welcome back to another drama class. My friends, this is I think, our last day. It's very sad. I know Tuesday you guys have map testing, so this will be it. This Monday session with me will be the end. I am so happy that I got a chance to get you guys. I've always wanted to teach an older group, and I finally did. And I'm so glad you guys took the plunge with so many things. Thank you for trying out those monologues. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Excuse me. Thank you for creating your own characters and being so incredibly creative with the backstories you gave them. And also, thank you so much for our scene analysis and taking the plunge and trying to make a scene, break down how a scene works. And lastly, thank you, friends, for giving Shakespeare a chance. It's been just so much fun to see you all give this a shot and be brave and do something new. And I'm gonna miss you guys. I really am. So let's finish this off in style. So what I'm going to give you guys today is some scenes from Shakespeare. And I'm going to break down words from one of them, one of Shakespeare's most famous scenes from the tragedy of Macbeth. And then I'm going to explain to you what each line means. This scene might contain some lines that you know from other films. Some of the lines in this scene have been used in many different ways for many different reasons. So I am going to write what this scene is from on the board real quick. So, my absolute favorite Shakespeare play ever, and one of the reasons that I got into this, into acting, into teaching drama, is because of this tragedy right here. My favorite tragedy by William Shakespeare is Macbeth. Macbeth. Macbeth is a Scottish lord who becomes corrupt with power and wants to become king because 3 witches told him that they saw a vision that he would become the king. So, as I said back in our first lesson, tragedies usually end with a lot of people dying, and Macbeth winds up, unfortunately, killing a lot of people to get what he wants and become king. So this is because of the 3 witches. So I'll write that down. And just to put it up here, Macbeth is, as I said before, a tragedy. Oops, sorry, guys. Let me make that a little bigger. Tragedy. All right, tragedy, which means it's sad, there's death, lots of it. So we have the 3 witches. I'll write them down. The 3 witches. Let me actually write that here. The 3 witches give Macbeth their vision, right? So they tell him that he will become king. But certain things throughout the play don't happen the way they predicted them. So Macbeth decides to meet with the witches again. But before he does, the witches conjure up a spell in order to show him this second vision. Now here's what I am going to do. I am going to break down this scene line by line, and then I'm going to tell you what everything means. And then I'm going to leave this scene on Schoology along with 2 other scenes that tell you exactly a couple of words and phrases and also translate them into modern English. So you have an idea of the original language from Shakespeare's time, and you can see what it means if we were speaking it today. Okay, so let's get started. Now the first line we have of this scene. There are 3 witches. They are also, actually, let me write this on the board too. The 3 witches are also referred to as the Weird Sisters. So they even call themselves this at various points throughout the show. So there you have it. The 3 witches, also known as the Weird Sisters. All right. So let's get started. Now, the first line is from the first witch, and she says, "Thrice the brinded cat hath mewed." Now, that's a big line to start with. We have a lot of words there to break down, so let's go ahead and break them down as distinctly as we can. Just give me 1 second here to make sure I have it right. All right, there we go. And, oh, sorry guys, lost the page. Thrice the brinded cat hath mewed. So there's a couple of words in there. So first we have thrice, right? Thrice. Now you might be familiar with the word twice. Twice means that something happens 2 times. Thrice, I'm going to take a look at the T, the H, and the R. If twice means something happens 2 times, I wonder how many times thrice means something happens. Well, we take a look at the T, the H, and the R. There's another number that starts with those 3 letters. We have 3. So if something happens thrice, it happens 3 times. So they say, thrice the brinded cat hath mewed. So brinded is an interesting word. Brinded is another word that brinded usually means something is orange and yellow, right? So I'll write that down. Thrice means 3. Brinded . Brinded means orange and yellow, right? So 3 times an orange cat hath mewed. And mewed, pretty easy. Mewed sounds like meow, right? So thrice the brinded cat hath mewed means 3 times the orange cat has meowed. So that's how they start the scene. And that is a way of saying that it's time to start their chant because a cat has meowed 3 times. Mystical and mysterious. Let's move right along. The second witch says thrice with a comma, and once the hedge pig whined. So she says, the second witch says thrice again, all right? So thrice means 3 times, agreeing with the first witch that yes, the cat meowed 3 times. Once the hedge pig whined. So also, that has happened. Now hedge pig, write that down again. I think I have room down here. Let me turn my, let's see. Thrice brinded. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second, guys. Hedge pig. Hedge pig. There it goes. Hedge pig, right? So you may remember from the insults that we practiced, the Shakespearean insults, hedge pig, pig. Another word for pig is hog. So a hedge pig is a hedgehog. Hedgehog. Thrice the brinded cat hath mewed, thrice and once the hedge pig whined. So yes, the cat has meowed 3 times, and the hedgehog has whined, made a whining sound, only once. These sounds are things that have let them know that it is time to start creating their spell to create their brand new vision for Macbeth. All right, moving right along. And then the third witch says, Harpier cries, 'tis time, 'tis time. So the sound of a cat let the first witch know it was time to come and create the spell. The second witch was called over by a hedgehog or hedge pig, whining. Harpier. Now harpier, let's write harpier down. See if I have enough room for it over here. Right it next to hedge pig. Harpier. Harpier cries, 'tis time, 'tis time. Now, in most translations of this play into modern English, a lot of people believe that Harpier is a spirit friend, a friend of the witches. So, that's all. So, the third witch says that their good friend Harpier told her to go and start creating the spell to give Macbeth his vision. So, here we go. Spirit friend. Okay. Now, we know all this. So the 3 witches have finally arrived to create this spell. So let's see where we go from here. So the first witch says, round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw. Let's take those 2 lines. So round about the cauldron go. For the sake of having room, my friends, I am going to erase what we have up here so far. But don't worry. If you're confused by any of these words, when I give you the links to the translated scenes that I will put on Schoology, all this vocabulary will be here. So I'm just reviewing stuff with you guys for now, but it'll be all available for you to see later. So give me 1 second. Okay. All right, so moving right along. Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw. So that means round about the cauldron go means they are going to dance around the cauldron, right? So round about the cauldron go, dance around the cauldron together is what that means. In the poisoned entrails throw. So they're going to throw poisoned entrails in the cauldron because that is the first ingredient for their spell inside their big cauldron. And a cauldron, let me write those 2 words down. Cauldron and entrails. That's some vocabulary for you guys. Cauldron. And, oops, I'm going to erase this all the way, sorry guys. Cauldron and entrails. So a cauldron. A cauldron is a big black pot that it's used for a lot of things. You can put a lot of water in it if you're going to boil something. But in olden tales and ancient times, it's been said that witches used it to boil water and create a spell. There's a movie on Disney Plus called The Black Cauldron, which is all about a magical cauldron that could be used for good or evil. If you have Disney Plus and want to give it a watch, it's a fun film. So, cauldron. right? Big black pot. Right? And entrails. Entrails are gross. Entrails are basically the leftover organs from a dead person or a dead animal. So, write that down. So like heart, lungs, intestines, it's kind of gross. So, organs from the dead. Kind of nasty, I know. But these are witches, right? And it's not surprising that they would use something like entrails to create a spell. Yeah, and it goes. All right, so that's the first step of the spell. Moving right along. It says, and then the first witch continues her spell. It says, toad that under cold stone, days and nights has 31. Right? Actually, I'm going to do 4 lines here. I know this is going to be a lot to take in, but in order to fully understand the second part of her spell here, we need to do 4. So she says, toad that under cold stone, days and nights has 31. Sweltered venom, sleeping gut, boil thou first in the charmed pot. All right. So, toad that under cold stone, days and nights has 31. Sweltered venom, sleeping gut, boil thou first in the charmed pot. So, toad under cold stone means a toad that sat under a cold rock. Right? Days and nights has 31. Now, 31 days usually means a whole month, right? So, we know that the witch now holds up a toad, and the toad that she has been sleeping under a cold rock for a whole month. And then it says, sweltered venom, sleeping gut, boil thou first in the charmed pot. So a cold toad that has been sleeping under a rock for a month with poison coming out of its skin is going to be the first thing she throws in the pot. Now, you'll notice on this page, when you look on it on Schoology, it says on the left side, there's a left side and a right side on these pages. This is what you'll see. The left side on this page has the original language. The right side has the modern language, right? So it says, boil thou first in the charmed pot. So there's an apostrophe after the I and the TH. And I'm going to write this on the board real quick because this is important vocabulary lesson for Shakespeare. Okay. So we have, let's see. I'm going to write the whole line. Boy, that's a D. B. Boil thou first is the, I'm going to write further, charmed all right, I hope we can all see this. Let me check. Okay. Boil thou first in the charmed pot is how that's written. Right? And we have a little accent here over the E. So normally we would say boil either this I apostrophe TH apostrophe looks like it should say in the, but in the old language you say, boil thou first in the charmed pot. Boil thou first in the charmed pot, right? So it's a short way of shortening the lines. It goes along with how Shakespeare wrote his verses. And the accent on the E means you don't say charmed, you pronounce it. It says charmed pot. All right? Boil thou first in the charmed pot. That's the original language. So the cold toad that was hiding under a rock for a month is going to be the first thing in the pot. And it has full of poison, and it's going to boil. So that's what we've got right now. Okay. And now comes one of the most famous lines in Shakespeare and one of the most famous lines in all of history. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron bubble. So that is their little chant to get the spell going so they can see the vision. With every ingredient they throw into the cauldron, they have to go ahead and say that so it works. This has been used in everything. I don't know if anybody watches Harry Potter, but it's been used in that movie too. I believe it's in the third book and movie, sorry. But you'll hear this be said in various different movies, books, TV shows, whatever you have. Double, double, toil in trouble. It is a famous line. All right. Moving right along. Whoops, I erased sisters. Let's rewrite it. Okay. And let's see. All right, we can get a couple more lines in. I do not think, my friends, we are going to be able to finish this scene in my video, so we will get as much done as we can. I know it's only a half hour. I regret that. But I will put this on Schoology and go ahead and look at the rest of the scene and see how the words and the vocabulary translate. Okay? Moving right along. It says, all right. Now the second witch throws in her part of the spell. She holds up something and says, fillet of a fenny snake in the cauldron, boil and bake. So it says that, let me read that again. It says, fillet of a fenny snake in the cauldron, boil and bake. So roughly translated, it means, we'll boil this in the cauldron next. A slice of swamp snake. Filet is a French word for a little slice of something. All right, so, and fenny. Yes, fenny is an old-fashioned word for swamp. So fenny, let me write those words down. Filet and fenny. Filet and fenny. Okay? All right, moving right along. So filet means little slice, little slice. Fenny is a swamp. Okay? Moving right along. All right, we got some time left. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog. This is pretty easy. So a newt, we write newt on the board. Read these. Actually, I'll put newt. Let me see if I have room to write it below. I'll write it over here, actually. Newt. Newt. A newt is a reptile. A newt is a slimy little a slimy little reptile, right, that is generally kind of like a frog, and it's, yep, it is kind of like a salamander, so it's a little gross little thing. It's very slimy. So it is, let's see. Whoopsie. So a newt's eye and eye of newt, toe of frog. So a newt's eye, a frog's toe, wool of bat, so that means the fur on a bat, because bats have a little bit of fur, and a dog's tongue, right? So all these kind of gross things from animals, but they are witches, so they need to make sure that the spell is as evil as possible by throwing these ugly things in there. So that's what we have. Okay. I think we'll have time to finish this line, friends, and then we'll have to call it for this class, but I will put all these on there so you can look. All right. Adder's fork and blind worm's sting, lizard's leg, and owlet's wing. Right? So, we have the tongue, an adder, let me put that down, an adder, is a snake. So we have, it says adder's, so adder's fork, and fork means tongue in this case. So an adder's, snake's tongue, a worm's, the stinger of a worm, because worms have stingers sometimes, the leg of a lizard, and the wing, an owlet is an old-fashioned word for owl, so a wing of an owl, right? And then the second witch finishes off by saying, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a broth, boil, and bubble. So make a charm to cause powerful trouble, and boil and bubble like a broth, right? So, there we go. That is, we'll stop there, friends. Now the rest is going to be on the link I give you. So feel free to go ahead and take a look. Actually, I would like you guys to go ahead and take a look at the rest of this scene. Like I said, the page is split down the middle. So on the left side, you'll have Shakespeare's language of how he originally wrote it. And on the right side, you will also have the modern translation of what it would look like today. I'm going to put that scene on there from the tragedy Macbeth. And then I'm going to put a scene, 2 more scenes for you to look at. These scenes are from another play called The Tempest. It's about a powerful storm that strands a young sailor on a magical island. And you will get a scene, one of my favorite scenes of the 2, is when the shipwreck occurs. So take a look at this scene from Macbeth, take a look at the 2 scenes you have from The Tempest, and go ahead and enjoy and have fun. All right, 5th grade, one more class, my friends. We will do our best to make it the best thing ever, okay? Thank you guys. Be safe, be well, I miss you, and have a blast. Okay, see you soon.